Nigeria.
Whether somebody loots or somebody will not loot, a lot of things will happen.
Why is Tinubu doing this to us?
Join Kofi Bartels for engaging debates, expert insights, and your voice at the heart of every discussion. Don't just listen, participate. Tune in and be part of the conversation. Only on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
On the Morning Crossfire with me, Kofi Bartels. You have the big names, the most pressing issues, and the sharpest conversations.
He must leave that place of talking into this place of doing.
Nothing are paying through their nose, and you are telling them after training they can't migrate. I will not be part of those who will give soft landing to these guys who are running the affairs of this country.
People are dying every day in an hour. People just go in and come out and read out stories to us. Come on, Kofi.
We must step beyond the talk. We have the analysis.
Join us as we dissect the headlines, bring you exclusive interviews, and dive deep into the heart of the matter. The big conversations live here.
Join Kofi Bartels on the Morning Crossfire, weekdays 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. only on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
This is Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
All right, Lagos, welcome back. It's still the Morning Crossfire. I told you we'll have a very interesting conversation. I asked you not to miss it at around 5 o'clock when I started the program, and indeed we're having that conversation. I'm excited because it's a bit controversial. You know me, I always come with the controversial things. But it's also important because we need to also see things from different angles and aspects and learn from each other. And talking about learning from each other, the debate over who was wrong in that Ibom Air saga will continue for God knows how long. But what is, and of course there are different disagreements, there are different sides to this conversation. People may never agree. But one thing that we can all agree on is the fact that everybody needs to learn how to get along. The passengers need to know the rules, regulations, the practices, the procedures or SOPs with flying and aviation and adhere to them. And the airlines also need to treat customers right, be it in terms of delayed flights, canceled flights, or indeed as it is in this case, conduct in flight. That being said, we have an expert in the studio, someone who has been in the field of flying. Let me call it that generally, because it's not just about hosting. And she is also someone in the tourism sector, so we'll talk about that. We're talking about life as a flight attendant. What do flight attendants go through? How do they enhance the flying experience? Is there more to being a flight attendant than saying hi, to the passengers and welcoming them, or not? I'm glad to say we have a tourism practitioner, a hospitality entrepreneur, and a co-founder of Jara Beach Resort, Millie Slade, with us in the studio. Millie, good morning to you. It's good to have you on the Morning Crossfire.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. It's different. We usually have hard-hitting conversations, and this is a hard topic. But we also intend to step it down. Reduce the temperature a bit, because over the past few weeks, it's been fire for fire. I'm telling you, it's been fire for fire. Those who supported Ibom Air and other airlines like ValueJet, and those who were against them, it's been, and I know you've seen it. Seen it. But above all the noise, it's important to also educate ourselves, to learn from each other. One of my principles in life or philosophy is to try and get along with everybody, and not to my detriment, but as much as it's possible. If I know this is what I need to do, my obligation to you, I have to do that. And I think that is how we can all get along. So obligation to the passengers, obligation to the public, obligation to the airlines, and to the flight crew is what we'd like to learn from you today. So apart from being an entrepreneur in the tourism and hospitality sector in Lagos State, Nigeria, you also have years of experience as a flight attendant. Is it flight attendant or air hostess or cabin crew?
Oh, well, you can call it cabin crew, flight attendant. It's, it's the same, but
Same thing.
yeah, people do prefer cabin crew. Some people prefer cabin crew.
All right.
Yeah.
So how many years did you work as a flight attendant?
17 years.
17 years.
Yes.
And you look this young. It means you started a bit early.
I did. I started at 19. So I really kind of learned, in my young years and grew up, in aviation and being a cabin crew.
Fantastic. Wow, that's really early. And I mean, growing up as a youngster in school, university, in life, I'm sure at some point everybody out there had a good idea, a favorable idea about being a flight attendant. Personally, as a child, I always thought it was glamorous, profession, and wow, these guys travel everywhere. Is it as glamorous as people think it is? You guys just enjoy your life in the sky. If you do international routes, you can travel anywhere, dress well, wear nice clothes, and meet all the big people.
There's always a glamorous side of the job. I, for one, when I was much younger, as a kid, this wasn't a dream of mine to become a cabin crew. But then, I had a neighbor on my street whose aunt was actually a cabin crew manager in one of the leading airlines at the time. And then she was the one that gave me the idea, and she said, oh, you speak so well, you're presentable, you're smart. I think that you should apply for this job. And that's kind of how I stumbled onto the career. And then I absolutely loved my years in aviation. But of course, there's so much more to it than just, being glamorous and, looking presentable. You go through an intense training before you even become cabin crew.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the first part of the job. Yes.
When I hear
really
intense, I hear grueling, tough, difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult in a sense that, it's a mental test, and a physical test, because you have to conduct emergency evacuations, the practical trainings on that, ditching evacuations. You need to learn how to be a firefighter, a first aider, how to get an incapacitated pilot out of a plane. Yeah, be able to deal with...
An incapacitated pilot.
Absolutely. Yeah, because different things have, happened on the planes over the years. So we have a lot of guidelines and regulations by which we design this, training. So every airline obviously has their own standards. But then there is the ICAO, which defines aviation safety and operational
International
standards.
Civil Aviation Organization.
Absolutely. Okay. Yes.
We had a lot of that over the past few weeks. ICAO Article 16, the Article 19. What's good? Okay.
Yes.
So you go through a lot, rigorous training.
Absolutely. And then every year after the initial training that you do and you pass that training, you receive an NCA license. That's for Nigeria. And then that license needs to be renewed every year. So there is a recurrent training. So all of these drills is not something you do once and you forget about it. So you need to be physically fit. You need to do a medical, to ensure that you are, able to evacuate passengers and save lives, because that's your main responsibility on board. It's the safety.
Sounds like the police and military. Yeah, you need to have the fitness.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you're not physically fit, you don't have certain health standards, you cannot be allowed to be a flight attendant, cabin crew.
Not, yeah.
And you go through drills. For instance, you're trained on how to evacuate an injured pilot.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mid-flight?
No, on ground. So the drills are, there is set scenarios. So, for example, I remember when I started, you would have a full plane of people. Usually it will be the airline staff, your colleagues. It might be the chief pilot, your management, and then you're put on board. And then they explain to you what type of an emergency we're having. So they might say, okay, you're about to take off. And then suddenly you hear boom, boom, crash. We're crash landing. The plane is going down. What are you going to do?
As if they put you in that scenario.
Absolutely. And then obviously your training will then dictate your next actions. So if you hear from the cockpit that you need to brace for impact, then you have to shout to the passengers. Because it's a sudden emergency, they don't know what brace is. They might be shocked and just not really understand what's going on around them. So you tell them, put your head down, cover your head until the plane actually makes impact. And then when the plane makes impact, if you don't hear from the captain and you know the plane has stopped, you look outside, make sure that there is no fire, there is no debris, and then you have to open the door, make sure that the slides are out. To ensure that then you evacuate the passengers, and then you start shouting, come this way, run, leave your bags, all of that, and make sure every single person is out. Then you check on your cockpit. If the cockpit is incapacitated, you need to be able to get them out. So there's a technique for that, and you learn. So you learn so much.
It's not just about the speech, talking, and sharing tea.
Yeah.
It's you have to physically fit.
Exactly. So that's the thing. I think what passengers see is the part of the job that's just serving tea and the coffee and chatting and all of that, which is nice. I don't think for those that have no interest in aviation, they don't necessarily need to know all of the things that we need to do. Even the process before every flight. A lot of people think people just bring their bag on board and just get on board and that's it. But you need to report an hour before. You have a briefing with the captain. The captain will set the tone for the flight, explain to you every flight. Tell you the weather conditions, explain if there's any special things we need to know for the flight, because you're flying with a different person every time. You're not going to have the same set of crew.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's different, obviously there's different pilots, different crew on board. And it's really important for you to be able to work together because you're a team now. So the captain is in charge of the flight. So he will be the one to tell you what to do.
I see.
Yeah, and how he wants his flight to be. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds a bit scary. You guys do a lot of, brave work. I don't know if they told you this was what your training was going to involve before you signed up. Would you have signed up?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, now I've had a fantastic career, absolutely enjoyed it, but I was surprised, when I came, onto this journey, that it was going to, take on so much more than I expected. Because, initially the training at that young age, I remember when I finished my exams and, I passed and I did so well and I got that handshake from the chief pilot. I was like, I had so much pride that, this is something important, like you feel pride that you're able to contribute to the safety of passengers and
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. So there's a lot to it, being a flight attendant, a cabin crew on an airline, be it commercial or private, you have a lot to do.
Yes.
I'm sure you have a lot of stories, a lot of experiences. Now, when you saw, the video that was leaked, regarding Comfort and Ibom Airlines, what was your view on, first of all, what was the first thing that came to your mind when you saw that video? First thing.
Oh, I was truly saddened by what I saw. I felt sad, I felt disappointed. And then, a lot of memories really kind of came up for me because it's been really long since I flew commercial. But I just suddenly remembered the pressures of the job and how demanding it was, flying hundreds of people a day, and having to deal with all kinds of situations. Because obviously the video was not 100% showed the whole situation, I, couldn't really make up what started the whole thing. And I remembered, obviously, something that happened to myself, and I thought to share it.
Tell us what happened to you.
Yeah, so what happened to me was I had a flight, and this is, over 15 years ago. It was a normal flight. Everything was going well, great. And while we were taxiing and, getting close to the active runway, we're doing our final check of the cabin.
Taxiing, sorry, so what's that? That's... landed, you're taxiing to halt.
Yeah, no, we're actually taxiing for takeoff.
Takeoff.
Yeah,
okay.
so we're taxiing to get to the active runway so we can take off. So typically, you don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you remember taxi, some taxis are longer, some taxis are shorter. So specifically here, the local airport, Lagos, the taxi is not long. So you have to quickly go through the cabin, make sure that all the seatbelts are on, the windows shutters are up, the armrests are down, all the seats are up, everybody's phones are switched off.
Your seats should be up.
Yes.
And everything.
Yeah, so all of that. So, I had one particular passenger that while I was going through the cabin, because I was at the time the lead crew on that flight, and so I was in business, and he was in business as well. So, he was chatting on the phone. So I sort of made a sign to him that, it's time to switch off your phone. And then I continued through the cabin, came back again. And now we are almost turning into the active runway. So I need to call the captain and say, cabin ready. All right, so that's my responsibility.
Okay.
And the cabin is ready when everything is the way it's supposed to be.
On that phone.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I go back to the passenger and I say, I'm so sorry, sir, but we're about to take off. This is the time that you really need to switch off. I'm so sorry, but, And then he looked at me and he really kind of went off on me. I don't know if he was in a bad mood. I don't know, but he was like, don't talk to me, don't, leave me alone, go and take your seat. Who do you think you are? Do you think you're white? And
So been a big man.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's the first time you encountered, a situation like this. But to me, when it comes to safety and when it comes to doing my responsibilities, I did take that very seriously. And also, everybody is watching you. You can have an NCA official on board that will see how you handle a situation like that.
Really?
Yes. Do you make a report or do you just let things slide, right?
Because your license could be withdrawn.
Absolutely. So I'm obligated to do my job. And, at this stage, I realized, okay, this passenger is not cooperating. So I called the captain and I explained the situation to him. I said, everything is clear, but we have a passenger who doesn't want to switch off his phone. And he's not,
And you're about to take off.
Exactly. So the captain at the time said to me, okay, we're on an active takeoff roll. Take your seats. I'm going to call the fan and officials on ground when we get to Abuja. Yeah. So basically, again, captain's decision is final. All right. I'm not the one to tell the captain you need to call the security or you need to do. That's his decision. So I did that, and I realized that, while we were on takeoff, because my seat is directly sort of in the side of the passenger, so in view of the passenger.
That's the crew lead, the one that sits facing us.
Yes, absolutely.
By that phone.
Yes, absolutely. There's also a phone in the back, but you kind of don't see the back. So I took my seat, but he kept saying, like, can you imagine this girl, like, stupid girl, and he just kept going. Really, he was really winding himself up. I didn't say anything. And then I realized that I didn't want the situation to get out of hand and to get, more intense, because he obviously didn't want to see my face anymore at this stage. So I then swapped with my second in the back and I said, look, please come over. So as soon as the seatbelt sign went off and now it's time, the captain tells us that we're allowed to serve. So when the seatbelt sign is switched off, that's our sign to stand up. We are safe. We're out of, the climb out, so which is now above 10,000 feet and is no longer a critical phase of the flight, and we can now serve safely. So I had my colleague come forward and I went to the back to serve so that, I don't irritate the passenger, de-escalate the whole situation.
I think that's something that comes to the training as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're not going to be exchanging words or, trying to prove right. This is not, I have a procedure, which is I report to the captain and then I
I think I read somewhere in the ICAO rules in the articles that the crew should try first. If you have, how do you treat an unruly passenger? First, you try to see if you can solve it without any issues, de-escalate, and when it's not possible for you to do that, then you have to take the person, detain the person, and So I think that training may have led to you say, no, let me go to the back.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't get in this guy's face again.
Yes, I just knew. And again, you have to also use your, your common sense as well in a situation like this. If you can tell that somebody is kind of not in that state of mind at the moment, because you don't know, also people are coming with different issues on board.
To remove yourself from that situation.
Absolutely. So I removed myself, and during the flight, after the service, the captain did call me to explain the situation further, exactly how it happened. And I did say to him, okay, this is exactly what happened. I did ask, for the phone to be switched off, and the passenger didn't comply. Then, then he became quite, verbally abusive, and I left, obviously, to the back, and then the captain understood, and he did tell me that when we land, there are going to be some security and fan officials on board that will come on first.
And that was the captain's decision? It
was the captain's decision. Every decision that happens in commercial aviation has to be captain's decision.
Whether so if whoever is detained, taken out, whatever, it's the pilot who decides.
Absolutely. The cabin crew have no power, when it comes to that, because captain is in charge of the flight. That's why they call it captain in command.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be back. You're a good storyteller. I've been just drawn in, because we want to know what happened. Our listeners want to know what happened.
Yes.
So we'll be back after the break. We're looking at, the life of a flight attendant. What is it like to help us better understand that field, and, so we can all get along better next time we fly and all that. We'll be back after this break. Stay with us.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.
With 20 essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, one Supermalt multivitamin after breakfast every day keeps you going.
They said insurance was broken. We answered, not with noise, but with action. 1 year ago, we made a promise. Not empty words, but a Rex promise. A promise to be resilient, to rise, rebuild, and restore trust. We vowed to be efficient, cutting the clutter, slashing the weight, turning "we'll get back to you" into "it's already done." We set a new standard. Excellence. We walked with integrity. And yes, we did it with teamwork. Not just behind our desks, but with you, our customers, at the center of the vision. From claims to customer care, from service to smiles, from launch to legacy. This is how we've kept the Rex promise alive. Because this is not just insurance, this is Rex, where resilience meets results, efficiency meets experience, and your peace of mind is our promise delivered. Rex Insurance. 1 year stronger, one promise kept, one brand you can trust.
Little body, big moves. Little brain, big learning. Your little child is eager to do big things. Every sachet of Cerelac Junior comes with the nutrition they need: natural grains, protein, and iron to support their physical growth, learning, and development. So you can fully enjoy your little one's big moments of growth.
Capsule full ground, anytime pain they around. If pain won't show in power, 3 in 1 day. To knock out power. Ibuka, pain for body, pain from fever, any kind pain they bow for Ibuka. That's why I'm the carry up always. Ibuka hammer then away. Ibuka they buy me always. Ibuka they buy me always.
Ibuka will stand gidigba with you always as you pursue your dreams to make life better, and it go better after 3 days if body no tranga. Go see doctor. Na Shalina Health Limited dem market am. Ibuka always with you.
Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria tanda gidigba with Ibuka.
Malta Guinness is now 600 naira. Now you get the same refreshing, nourishing, rich premium Malta Guinness for just 600 naira. Available at stores near you. Malta Guinness, here for every kind of you.
Meals have a way of taking us on a journey. And when you add plenty of vegetables like efo, ugu, and season with the rich taste of North seasoning cubes, even better.
So, go ahead and elevate your meals with more vegetables and the rich taste of North cubes. Today, eat for good.
Update. Yes, so Boku Store add bunker products to their shelf. High quality for low prices. From Go Vita chocolate drink for 150 naira to Tula paste for 140 naira to Platis dishwash for 1,900 naira for only inside Boku. All of them don't they available.
Oh yeah, shop Boku for prices way cheap past market. High quality for low price. Boku not far from you.
Iboku abi no Boku.
See, everybody with emo wahala. Every day comes with its own version of challenges, and you have to be ready to face them, because only then can you move on to the next. That's why I never miss my breakfast. Scratch that. My peak breakfast with the nutrients and energy I need to face each day, one challenge at a time.
Every day is a good day to power on with a peak breakfast. Have you had your peak? Reach for your peak.
Hey, rewards don't land. When I buy airtime and data on any network,
I get up to 10% cash back.
I pay my NEPA, DSTV, or Star Times and call
3% cash back.
So, Smart Cash back don't get reloaded.
And they load my wallet.
Hey, it's the Smart Cash Cashback Reloaded. Top up airtime or data on any network. Get up to 10% cashback. Pay your electricity or cable TV bill and get 3% cashback sharply. Only on Smart Cash. No dull yourself. Download the Smart Cash app. Dial star 939 hash to start today. Terms and conditions, Deja.
You know you've given us everything, but there's something you're forgetting.
Another school fees?
No, AXA Mansard International Health Plan, IMED.
Insurance? Babe, you know we can handle any medical bills now.
IMED isn't bills, it's peace of mind. With IMED, we get hassle-free quality care at 1.9 million medical facilities and access to over 1,000 premium airport lounges worldwide. It's premium healthcare for our kids, for me, for you, and even our parents.
Visit www.axamansard.com or call 0700 AXA Mansard to get started. Terms and conditions apply. AXA, know you can.
What's about to taste is so hot, it's out basket out singing.
Mini Ninja Pepe flavor. Yeah. Mini Ninja Pepe flavor. Ah, heat.
Nothing brings the taste of Mini Me Noodles Niger Pepper flavor. Try it today. See for yourself. Mini Me Noodles Niger Pepper flavor. Slurp it like it's hot.
Protect from sweat and need a last dweller.
If you're dry, don't 25 ml pack. Make it rush, go buy it.
The price on the chair pocket. Stay dry. If you're dry.
If dry deodorant will help you maintain your steez. It's only for 25 ml size for boys and girls.
If you're dry. I'm in love. Don't you have to stand up. Is it to open? Is it to squeeze? Is it to super? Is it to stop?
Sonia tomato mix. Stand up.
99.3 Nigeria.
Your number one for talk. Let's
via the phone lines, also via a Facebook live stream, YouTube. Please feel free to comment. The co-founder of Jara Beach Resort, an award-winning all-inclusive getaway in Lagos. She is passionate about creating memorable experiences and promoting sustainable tourism. She also is a former flight attendant. Is there a better way to put this? I mean, did I get it right?
Yes, you're free to say flight attendant or cabin crew, anyone you like.
Someone
it's fine.
Sent me a message saying Trolley Dolly.
I wouldn't call it that.
Zen from the village. Have you been one, Zen? Before he says good morning. I don't know if it's a friend of yours. But anyway, so she has had 17 years. She has 17 years experience as a flight attendant or a cabin crew, and she's with us right here in the Morning Crossfire to talk about life as a flight attendant. 0201-277-0993 and 0201-465-7190. We're taking your calls also on WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp number being 08095-975805, 08095-975805. And of course, we can also take your voice notes of 1 minute or less, or you can send a message to us on WhatsApp. If you have any question regarding passenger crew relationship, please feel free to call. I've had a lot of questions listeners have asked. I haven't been able to answer it authoritatively because I'm not an expert in the field. Do we have closed circuit television cameras in the aeroplanes, especially commercial ones, CCTV cameras?
No, we do not.
No CCTV?
No CCTV, no.
Why? Because that's strange. I mean, well, one would think that the airlines would have the resources to afford a CCTV.
I think, there might be technological developments in the future, but I do know, I'm not, a pilot, I'm not an engineer. However, I do know that the aircraft systems are very sensitive. Okay. And this is obviously where some of the regulations come from, that they don't really want to mess with those systems. Obviously, you need to transmit data, anything that means that you can interfere with any navigational equipment or any aircraft systems, communication equipment, they stay away from that. So I would imagine that should be one of the reasons why we don't have. And there's privacy issues as well, so yeah, it's a tricky one.
So your story, let's get to, because I'm eager to hear how it ended. So you had this passenger who was in business class and he refused to switch off his phone.
Yes.
Breaking news. And the aircraft was about to take off.
Yeah.
It was on the final you call it the runway, right?
Yes.
It was about to take off, and you had to do the normal thing, which is to inform the pilot that you have a passenger who is being unruly. That's not your word, but who is refusing to switch off their phone, and he rained some insults and abuse at you. But you took yourself out of that situation by asking your colleague to handle the business class while you went to the back.
Yes.
So what happened when you landed at your destination? Was there any more drama in the air?
No, there wasn't any more drama. And then when we, landed, I went back to my position. So my responsibility is to open the door. So as soon as we came to a final stop, I was already briefed by the captain that there would be security coming on board. And that's, fan officials. So I waited for the go-ahead to open the door. Then when I did, they were actually already on the steps.
That's the aviation safety, aviation police.
Exactly, the fan officials. Yes, at the time it was, I don't know if they were wearing blue. I can't really recall that part, but I do know that they were fan officials.
Okay.
So they came on board and they asked me to show them the passenger.
That's before everybody disembarked.
Before everybody disembarked. That was just as soon as the door opened. That happened very quickly. And then so I, gestured to the passenger who was like directly. And, as soon as they approached him and told him, you come with us. And then he got up, and as he was trying to leave, he tried to grab me. Like, I think he was so...
You don't say?
Yeah. Yes.
He tried to grab you?
Absolutely. I don't think he expected it. He was so angry, So, yeah, it was obviously unexpected for him. And I don't think he even imagined that, that situation could lead to, officials, AFAN officials coming on board. And
because he was a big man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He probably would say, "Do you know who I am?"
Exactly. So I think that what happened afterwards was all the passengers disembarked, and then the captain and the crew had a debrief, and then the FAN officials came on board and said they needed a statement from us. By the time we got to the office, we wrote our statements. That was when I found out that he was a senator, in fact.
Oh, Olua.
Yes. And I get, the funniest thing about it is I can't even tell you his name because I completely blocked out that memory. Like when you have a difficult situation like that, specifically when it's something that you deal with, on regular basis, you try to block out,
Yeah.
So I probably heard the name at the time, but it's just not something that stuck in my head.
He thought he was still on the floor of the red chamber.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, and of course you can tell that there was a bit of a nervousness around, with the officials like, this is not just a regular passenger. But I wrote my statement. The captain wrote his statement. We were very professional, all the way. And then, of course, our return flight to Lagos was delayed, but then we got back to Lagos. And then over the course of the next few weeks, some things happened. We got a letter.
Did you get any repercussion?
Yes. The company received a letter from, this person's lawyers. And basically it stated, it was defamation of character, basically. That was the case.
That's for him refusing to switch off his phone.
Absolutely.
And you doing the required thing, which is to inform the pilot to save lives.
Absolutely.
Lawyers collected, that brief and actually sat down and wrote a letter accusing the company of defamation of character.
Yes.
I think these are things they need to discuss at the MBA conference. Things like this that they need to talk to themselves about.
Yeah, so that's what it was. And, luckily for us, it was because we had a really, really good team and a good system in place where the chief security officer, was briefed on the situation and he had the response ready. So, I've written a statement also at work, you have to do a crew report. Okay. So everybody was briefed on, they knew what the details were, they knew exactly the circumstances, they knew, what I did and, didn't do. And so he responded very swiftly and we never heard from them again.
This is what you guys go through. So is this something that is rare? And exactly what is the requirement? Is it to switch the phone off or put it on flight mode? I know NCAA, they've come up with some updated rules. But before that, was it required to switch off your phone or to put it on flight mode?
So the ICAO regulation has always been sort of a general rule that cellular network is not permitted during critical phases of the flight. And that was a general rule. Now, they can't impose very specific rules on the airlines. Then you decide, because you have different aircrafts, you have different aircraft systems. Some are more modern, some are equipped with certain equipments that block out the ability for cellular network to interfere. Now let's remember, we don't have all the brand new aircrafts, and not all the aircrafts are brand new and all of that. So we have to take into consideration our own NCAA regulations, and obviously now they have been very kind of clear and firm on it to state that all phones should be switched off
throughout the flight.
Okay. And for me back then, it was exactly what it was. Flight mode was not really a thing. Remember iPhones were not as sophisticated, and all of the technology wasn't the same. So it was switch off your phone. But now a lot of airlines, we can't follow the guidelines for other countries or other airlines with different aircraft systems. And if you fly in the US or you're flying in the Middle East, they might be using a completely different set of systems.
Because I mean, one politician and activist, put up. I saw it on his, I think his feed, because I have him on my WhatsApp and we talk from time to time. Said, see, I was flying, abroad. I fly abroad all the time. He goes to the United States a lot. And I use my phone in the aircraft. That is an outdated law. It's an outdated regulation in Nigeria. Nigeria needs to step up to become like other countries. Isn't this outdated?
No, it's not outdated because ICAO regulation still stands. However, there is obviously clauses for different aircraft systems.
What is ICAO regulation again?
So ICAO is obviously the International Civil Aviation.
Is it to turn your phone off? Or to put it on flight mode?
The cellular network needs to be switched off during the critical phases of the flight.
Taking off and landing.
Take off and landing, yes. So that's also the climb out and approach. So anything below 10,000 feet, right? Okay. So usually during cruise, you will see that you can't really get any network. But of course, you need to keep a proper regulation in place. You can't just say switch off your phone, then switch it back on, then switch. It needs to make sense.
Why can't they allow passengers then use the phones in flight?
Well, you can't really get any network in flight. But like I said, there is no system.
I can listen to music on my phone, look at pictures.
Yes, absolutely. But this is why the aircrafts are different, and the airline and the NCAA do have the final say when it comes to what they feel comfortable with, because they also know the type of aircrafts they fly. So if you know your aircraft systems are sensitive and you do not have those systems in place, because if an aircraft is 20 years old, you can't compare it to an aircraft that's a year old or brand new. So I think we need to put all of that into consideration. We can't really compare apples to oranges. If you have brand new jets, new technological systems, it can't be compared.
All right. Well, thank you, Millie. We want to throw the lines open now. Some also asked, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, why will an air hostess, prevent a passenger from leaving? Is there something that is, like why would you detain a passenger? What gives the airline the right to detain a passenger? It's like kidnapping. Some asked me a couple of weeks ago. What's your response to that?
Well, not for this specific situation because we don't know the circumstances. But generally speaking, it's again the captain's decision to say if you don't want to allow passengers to disembark at a certain time. And the captain does have that power. If there is an emergency or a situation on board, that needs to be properly, handled by authorities, and we need to report to those authorities, we need to hand over correctly. So if that means waiting an extra few minutes on board, it's absolutely normal. It's happened before. It happens internationally. It's not peculiar to Nigeria, and you don't call it detain a passenger.
What do you call it?
You just prevent them from deplaning until they are being handed over to the right authorities.
I also got asked why wouldn't it be better to allow them deplane, like you said, or leave the plane, and then arrest them, in quote. The authorities, like the final AVSEC and all that, will arrest them or pick them up or apprehend them at the terminal.
Well, it's not going to be correct for the crew to just let the passengers go and then the fan officials to start chasing who and what and
like Tom and Jerry.
Exactly. It's not very professional, you know what I mean? And then it's kind of out of your hands at that stage. So I think that's the unique thing about aviation. It has very strict rules and very things that you follow. So the airline will set some, NCA will set some, and then you follow them. That's your job, to follow your own part of the job. Make sure you do the right thing.
Okay, interesting. We have a call on the line, 99.3. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Kofi.
Yes, name, location, and kind of.
This is Rotimi from Ikoyi.
Welcome.
Kofi, my question to your guest is, what are the main dangers if phones are on the aircraft when moving? What are the main dangers? Why they say they should switch it off? I just want to know why.
All right,
what are the dangers?
Thank you, Rotimi.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that question. Like I did mention earlier, so the cellular network of, on our phones can actually interfere with communication systems, with navigational systems of the aircraft. So obviously those rules were not just, imposed on passengers for no reason. I believe there have been investigations over the years. I know that according to my own research, there has not been a known air crash that was directly connected to a phone use. However, the pilots have reported over time that there has been interference when there are phones switched on board during those critical phases of the flight, that it interferes with the sensitive aircraft systems. So I think that's the important thing to note, that the aircraft systems are very sensitive. So anything that can interfere and can potentially risk lives, it's something that we need to be very careful to ensure we follow those rules. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. 99.3, good morning. Your name, location, and country, please.
Mr. Kofi, good morning to you and your guest.
Welcome.
She's really giving us some insights this morning. But I have a question to ask her.
Your name, please.
In her opinion, the trending issues that have stemmed from the past incidents, from 1 to 4, was it handled well? Because none of these persons involved were duly prosecuted according to the NCCA rules. Now, does she think in months to come, we will no longer experience the rise or happenstances of flight attendants to passengers' unruly behavior or unruly behavioral patterns with the way these issues have been handled, in our own opinion? That's my question this morning.
Your name and location, please.
I'm Mrs. Oboli calling from
Okay, good to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for that question. It's really difficult because I mean, just my opinion is that there is still an investigation ongoing. And I believe that NCAA will, likely release some sort of a statement. Already there is one enforcing the regulation around use of mobile phones. I wrote my story on LinkedIn for a reason, because not only did it stem memories, but it also reminded me that it is quite dangerous if we do lose all respect for our crew members and we go into this, abyss of anything goes on flight and you can do anything you want and nothing can really be done to you. So I think it's important to understand the other side, which is how important this job is, and that every member of a crew has a role to play in the safety of all passengers on board. So my opinion, I don't know, obviously NCAA, the steps they've been taking and exactly what sort of repercussions that those passengers have had, but I would say I will trust them. We have a fairly good system in place, and I flew safely for many, many years. So I do trust them to know the right steps to take.
Okay, all right. 99.3, name, location, and contribution, please.
I'm someone calling from Ikoyi. Good morning.
Welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Please go.
Also want to greet your
go on, please. Yeah, no pleasant. Just
straightforward. Yeah, straightforward. What do you guys do in terms of emergency? Do you have like paramedics or people that follow you? Because there are people that might, like, for instance, passengers that might likely come up with maybe emergency situations. How do you handle that? That's on one side. Secondly, don't you think that there should be a kind of like education for passengers, or you could also pass it down to schools to teach children from the younger age? And also, thirdly, do you still pass through, like you spoke about traveling to other countries? Do you pass through language barrier in case whereby you go to a certain land where they speak different languages? How do you communicate with those people?
Okay, thank you. Yes. This is general. I'm sure he wants to consider a profession or something.
Well, thank you so much for that question. I think the first one was about first aid and how we handle medical situations. So you must be trained in first aid. So you must be a first aider. So in case there is a not a serious situation, but you can do life-saving procedures on board. So for example, CPR and all of that, resuscitation. However, they will also have a medical kit on board, and that medical kit can only be used by medical personnel. So if you have a very serious case on board that is beyond, that needs a medical practitioner, then we will call for a doctor on board, and we hope that there's a doctor on board. And if there is a doctor on board, then we will give them the medical kit and we will assist them if they need anything. We've actually had a colleague of mine during my time in flying in the airlines. They had a baby born on a flight between Lagos and Abuja.
your colleague handled the delivery?
Well, there was a doctor on board, very luckily, but they were there to give towels and like help and assist in any way.
Wow.
So there is a lot happening, huh?
Wow, so there's a lot going on. We don't have time. We like to invite you back. Yeah, because there's a lot to talk about. It's so much. We've not even covered maybe one quarter. We have like 3 quarters to go. All right, and then maybe some other time we invite you to talk, tourism.
Yeah.
How is Jara Resort doing?
It's doing great. We're so happy. We're able to welcome so many guests, and we've been busy, so we're grateful for that. Yeah, but we've been around for 6 years, so it's been a great experience.
Fantastic. Thank you. Zen from the village. I've seen your message. Thank you very much. This one says, Kofi, should just turning off our data on Wi-Fi do it all? In the interference case, just turn off your Wi-Fi instead of turning off your phone.
Well, I think at this stage, it's really important that we follow the NCA regulations. And I think that one of the reasons, and that's my opinion, I'm no longer a cabin crew, but, they always say you're always a cabin crew if you're once. How do you monitor that all of the flight mode and cellular network is switched off?
How would you know?
How would you know?
So instead of taking chances, just...
Absolutely. We don't want to take chances.
Interesting. We have to leave it at that. Do we have a deal to invite you back?
We have a deal.
Okay, fantastic. I had to extract that from you. And of course, it's been a pleasure speaking with Millie Slade, who's a former flight attendant. And also, she was a flight attendant for 17 years, a career spanning 17 years. And she's a co-founder of Jara Beach Resort. Thank you very much, Millie. It's been very interesting. The stories have been so interesting. I just kept quiet listening to you. So we'll have you back and we'll talk some more later. Thank you.
I am malaria, the king of malaria parasites. My mission is simple: to take over your body.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it